I could not find a therapist in Chicago, Illinois who could work with me. IA community is a collection of communities, identities, and cultural groups. It's not just one group. I have to come out every single time I have a new client. Addiction in LGBTQ community is very rampant and it's at various states, right? And by the way, I probably should put it at the beginning of the video. Happy Pride. Listen, if you run a private practice and you want to be a better clinician for LGBTQAI people, if you want to include and serve us, this video is for you, and this video is uniquely useful for you from the standpoint that it's made by me. I'm a gay man. I worked as a therapist, as a clinical psychologist in Moscow, Russia. I worked with LGBTQIA community. I worked as a youth counselor, as a case manager in the US at the homeless shelter for homeless youth, and majority of my clients there were people from the community. And I also run my own private practice as a registered hypnotherapist in Seattle, and I work with gay men. So I want mental health to be accessible. When I say accessible, if you follow me for any amount of time, I don't mean that you just not charge money for your services or discount it like to the point that you can pay your bills. Like, this is not where we're going. I want mental health to be accessible. So when I look at a provider that may not share the same cultural background, beliefs, or upbringing, that they're competent and they're confident to help me and treat me accordingly. Because when I needed a therapist, when I went through a divorce, there's such a significant shortage of therapists, and not because I didn't have the money. I had the money. Listen, I am doing okay for myself. I did not have a therapist. I could not find a therapist in Chicago, Illinois who could work with me. I eventually found one, but it was incredibly hard. And at that point, I start sacrificing the most important thing, therapeutic alliance. Do I like my therapist? Do I click with my therapist? I'm like, you know what? Fuck that. I might as well just work and like whoever I can find, because it's really, really hard. So at the end of this episode, I want you to have clinical competencies to work with us. So, and of course, I want you to run profitable, joyous, fulfilling private practice. And if working with gay clients is your desire, I encourage you to schedule a consultation with me. All the resources is in the description. But let's start with the community. So, LGBTQIA community is a collection of communities, identities, and cultural groups. It's not just one group. So, I'm going to list the most known communities that I'm aware of, or that I mostly see that I've seen in my practice and my experience and I'm aware of. So let's start with lesbians, because I love lesbians, and there's no particular order. So women, lesbians, and I'm very intentional with my language, because we have women lesbians, cis women lesbians, and we have trans women lesbians, because you can be trans and you can be gay, or you can be straight, or you can be bi, or like as the whole another conversation. And I think I'm jumping ahead of myself, but we have lesbian as a cultural representation. We have cis women, we have trans women who might identify as lesbians. We have gay men, and same here, we have gay men, cisgender gay men, we have trans men. Again, just because they're trans men, they can be straight. A trans man can be attracted to women. No, they're not lesbians, they're men, but they're attracted to women. I know if you are getting a little bit confused, don't worry. Like it is going to get a lot clearer. Like I promise you. So then we do have bisexuals. And bisexuals from both sides of the aisle, from men, women, trans women, you name it. Then we have non-binary, and this is a gender expression, and this can be like very interesting, and this is like literally just ask, and I don't know if you are respectful and if you have connection and trust. People who are non-binary, they will tell you their preferences, and like that's something to explore. And I think this is a new development where we're not 100% sure how to proceed. And your client is the expert on their lives. You are an expert on mental health. So I invite you to explore. So we cover gay men, we cover lesbians, we cover bisexuals, we cover non-binary, we cover transgender people, trans men, trans women. And again, just because somebody is trans man or male to female, or sorry, female to male, sorry, like I know it's confusing. So if somebody is trans man, female to male, doesn't mean that they can be gay or straight. And if it is from female to male and they're attracted to female, they're not lesbians. I hope it makes sense, because this nuance is important, because their gender identity is a man, and as a man they can be straight, they can be attracted to a woman, right? They can be trans man from female to male and be attracted to male. It doesn't make them straight. It doesn't make them straight. Absolutely doesn't make them straight. And it's important conversation to have with your client as well. Also, like how they identify themselves, because it is not about the label, how you label them, but it's more so how they identify themselves and how it plays out in their lives. This is the most important part. And this is the secret of productive therapeutic alliance, because it's okay to question, it's okay to challenge certain things, but when you start from the challenge, like challenging obvious things for them or tender things that a little bit more like tender on the surface, that can ruin therapeutic alliance. For example, if you say a trans man who is from female to male, you say, well, like you're technically a lesbian because you like either women, but he is not a woman. I hope that makes sense. And again, if you need consultation, please, please make yourself and your clients a favor. Like, I'd rather you to ask me in a safe space to get clarity than put your client in harm's way or cause premature termination of therapy. I hope that makes sense. So now we have asexuals, we have queer people. And when it comes to asexuals, right, it's like, again, this is not necessarily new, but a person who is not really interested in having sex, right? And like, again, when you're dealing with a sexual man or woman, like, it's, again, this is exploratory, queer. Now, it's important to understand that not everybody, not every gay, not every trans, not every lesbian will identify as queer. I do not identify as queer. I'm a gay man. I'm perfectly fine with the word queer and with queer therapy, queer affirming. Like, I'm perfect. I am on board, but I don't identify as queer. And that's okay. And not everybody will identify as queer, but queer is this like collective, right? It can be a person who is a gay man, a lesbian, a transgender, a non binary, like all in between. Now, I hope it makes sense, like, because I know it's a human sexuality and human sexual identity and gender identity is very confusing, or it can be very confusing. So we're gonna dissect that and like go step by step by step by step. But if you have questions, let me know in the comments. So moving on. How can you serve them? First of all, like one big impactful thing that you can do is actually write a letter or learn how to write a letter of gender affirming letter of support. What's needed? A lot of transgender clients need this letter from a mental health professional for gender affirming care and gender affirming surgery or gender affirming care for trans people, especially when the whole system and administration is targeting trans people. First of all, it is expensive. A lot of the time, majority of the time, gender affirming surgeries are not covered by insurance. And a lot of the time, trans people have to like make financial decisions, so, like what makes sense for them, and for a lot of them, gender affirming surgeries are like essential for their emotional well-being. So your letter will be absolutely tremendous service for them because like that produces a lot of suffering, especially when they go to a mental health professional, especially when they go to a mental health professional who slapped on their Psychology Today affirming care and they cannot write gender affirming letter. That's a blow. That's really sad. So what you can do about it, do your research and like learn about it and write a damn letter. Because if you feel a little uncomfortable, I want you to ask yourself, are you acting from the place of fear? Because you're afraid maybe you will have consequences for your license. Probably, I really want to say you won't, but depending on the state, depending on the client, depending on the age, like it depends. But if you're dealing with adults, probably you won't. If you misjudge someone for something more serious, well, that's a valid concern. But also, as an experienced clinician, if somebody comes to you in their like in the process of getting their affirming care or affirming gender affirming surgery and they need a letter, by you acting from the place of fear, it just amplifies their suffering, because at the beginning of the episode I said that finding a therapist who just acts kind of comfortable and competent with us, it is fucking impossible. And when you finally find someone and you kind of like them and they say, you know what, I can't really help you, that's devastating. So the best what you can do is to educate yourself. That's number one. Number two, like really understand the stressors and the differences. And I can do the whole series on a communities, but let's start with like kind of more general category, because like that's just simply it's simply not something that I can put in this episode right now. Gay men, lesbians at work. Or also, I would include trans people. And trans people in a way that, they're fairly from both sides. Sometimes you can tell that a person has transition or transitioning, or sometimes you can tell that person is transitioning or transition. It depends. But one stressor that is constantly out there that we have to come out all the fucking time. For my perspective, let's say I'm working with a business. I'm a business coach. I do business coaching. I do private practice as a hypnotherapist. So, as a hypnotherapist, I'm gay. I work with gay men. As a business coach, I work with a lot of providers who may not know that I'm gay, or they may not follow me for a long time, or they simply did not see the piece of content where I say that I'm gay. And sometimes stuff happens, like just a casual conversation about family. I am married to a man, and I say, my husband. I would not say in my right mind in the US that, like, oh, my wife and I. Why would I? Right? But this small friction that I have to come out every single time I have a new client, every single time I have a new consulting project, every single time I move to a new neighborhood, every single time I am in a new environment, every single time I go out there in public with my husband to a new restaurant, to like whatever, like I have to tell the world that, hey, I'm not the vast majority of the people. I'm not straight. This is my husband. And sooner or later, that might come up. And that is exhausting. And that is like, if we notice that people like gay people, gay men, or people from the community have hypervigilance, no fucking way we do. No shit. Because we have to be vigilant, especially in this climate, especially in like, and again, if you are working in different country, for example, like when I was working as a therapist in Russia, coming out necessarily was not the only option for my clients. And a lot of the time, especially for older gay men, I had people who come to me and say, "Hey, I'm gay man. I know that I'm gay, but it's not safe for me. I am a CEO. I am in a religious family. I like whatever." Like, especially when the law anti homosexual propaganda was passed in Russia, some gay men would come and say, "Hey, like, I would like to have heterosexual lifestyle. How do I do that?" So, and that is like, and and it's navigating how to form healthy concept of self and safety. So hypervigilance, it is not a pathology in us. It is literally we have to skin for safety. Because even when the environment calms down and it's fairly safe for us, new administration, new laws, new city, new environment, we have to it may not be physically safe for us to be out. So like that is one of the stressors. Coming out is another stressor. So what other issues like gay LGBTQI people might experience? Well, beyond the obvious work stress, relationship stress, that like kind of like common issues that other people come to you like that it's not gonna be something out of this world. This is like common knowledge and common history or common. I really hate to say common pathology when it comes to generalized anxiety disorder, adjustment disorder, um, things like that. But things like CPTSD, it's something that is prevalent in our community because a lot of us, we live in an environment in one way or another when we constantly traumatized again and again and again and again and again. So in CPTSD, it is very much common in us. Now, this episode would not be completed if I did not mention neurodivergence. I have ADHD. I don't think that it is total coincidence that I am gay man and I have ADHD. There are studies that there is a correlation, and especially with the psychoeducation and how like psychology and therapy becomes available online, I would I would ask your clients about their neurodivergence if they identify or if they notice that they might have ADHD or autism and ADHD. And like sometimes self diagnosis is correct. And your role as a clinician, in my personal opinion, is not to fight the diagnosis, but rather find the way for them to live with that diagnosis and make it more practical. So those are big things. Now, another big topic and big issue that we don't talk about is coming out late in life. Coming out late in life. This is something that I've seen in Moscow, Russia when I was working as a therapist. I had friends who came out late in life. I had clients who came out late in life. And one thing that is very unique to this population is the unprocessed grief for what once was there. Because the community, yes, we want to welcome them, but coming out in your 40s is different than coming out into your 20s because in your 40s, you might have a child or you might divorce a wife. And the whole family dynamic when you come out to your wife and you say, hey, I'm actually gay. And yes, gay men can have sex with women. It doesn't mean that they're bi. It's like, that's another caveat, okay? Gay men can have sex with women. Straight men can have sex with men. And it doesn't make them gay. There is a really, really good research on that. Again, you need a consultation, book a consultation with me. I would like to help you out. But like that's another intricacy, right? Also, the slang, right? Like, and I want to like I can give you the whole shebang of gay slang, but for gay men, for example, things like poppers. Poppers is a chemical cleaning agent. Like they're really designed for cleaning. I think it is HS tape or like it's a cleaning agent, right? You're not supposed to consume it or snore or smell it, snore it. But gay men, they inhale fumes. It relaxes the muscles and helps with, you know, the bottoming, and also like it might provide very pleasant sensation of euphoria. And this is something that we know as Chem Sex. If you're addiction counselor, party and play, kind of like the next topic, addiction in LGBTQ community is very rampant and it's at various states, right? There are a lot of gay men, there are a lot of members of the community who use substances safely ish for the most part. And when I say substances, variety of substances. And when I say safely, I mean they're functional. They have a career or a job, and they use substances. And with legalization of marijuana, it is prevalent, and marijuana use disorder can be there. But again, now when marijuana becomes like tobacco 2.0, which is another conversation for a different podcast, that's something to be aware of, right? Because especially if you're in the state when marijuana legal, this is probably something that you should talk about with your client. Do you use substances? And what is your relationship with the substances? And understanding if it is impeding their health, and do psychoeducation so they can make a healthy choice for the substances. But going back to the addiction in LGBTQ community specifically, more complicated by this factor: party and play, Chem Sex. What does it mean? People use substances. A lot of the time, it is crystal meth, methamphetamine, and they have sex. They have euphoria, they have sex, they have like connection, and sometimes like the substance is this bonding agent that helps them to relax, to be more accepting of their body, and have pleasant sexual experiences. That complicates recovery and abstinence from the substances the whole lot, because one thing, the addiction hijacks your brain and your nervous system, and the dopamine, the reward mechanism, the whole shebang. But also add to it a social component, add to it sex, add to it connection, add to it bonding, add to it community. Because there's a whole community like underbelly in a way that would unite under like using a variety of substances. Now, how people can express it. So PNP, party and play, like they emphasize that they wanted something hard. Sometimes people would say, I don't do hard drugs. Meaning, and this is kind of like you clarify, but on dating sites, this normally means like I only do marijuana and poppers. And poppers is not, poppers have, they are not as addictive in terms of like chemical dependency. It's more so psychological and behavioral dependency in a way. And correct me if I'm wrong, and please throw research at me. I would like to learn that. But it's not like methamphetamine or marijuana. You don't have withdrawal from poppers majority of the time. But poppers is not safe, by the way. And like there are consequences. You can use it like more or less safely-ish. But it's like, again, this is something that like to be aware of. It can affect your central nervous system if you overdo it. It can affect your blood pressure. If you use Viagra and poppers, your blood pressure can drop dangerously low. You can die. So, welcome. So, but those are the stressors. And I can go on and on and on and on. And my takeaway for you, like as a person who is in the community, as a person who lives in America, as a person who is in mental health, and by the way, I should put it at the beginning of the video. I am starting my journey of becoming addiction counselor. I'm expanding my private practice and I'm adding addiction counseling to it. So right now I'm just doing the dues, in terms of like getting supervised hours, getting the gap in the courses, the extended certification, so I can take and pass the exam and get all the hours together. And I will be keeping you updated on that. But here's that. So happy Pride. If you have questions, please book a consultation with me, because whether you want to attract more gay people and like, how do I attract you? Book a consultation for me. And by the way, my consultation is $350. $350 for 90 minutes, 90, an hour and a half, because I want to provide you quality consultation like for an hour. It can get complex. So book a consultation with me, and if you are looking to bring more money, joy, clarity in your business in terms of your messaging, website optimization, business optimization in terms of like the fee, how to charge, how to build private practice, my doors are open. I do have one-on-one program where I work with therapists for 6 months. And with all that, thank you so much, and I will see you later. Bye, y'all.